Welcome to day 2 of writing equations with point slope form. So our essential question is, how do you write an equation when given 2 points? Well, funny you ask. We're going to go through these 3 steps together. The first step we have here is calculate the slope, and that's from the change in y over the change in x. The second step is to pick one of the points, either one will work, and substitute it into the formula. And then we solve for y. So I want you to ignore this part here. Let's not delete it. Okay, and then let's set up our x and y table here. Our first point is -1, -2. And our second point is 2, 4. Now it says to calculate the slope, so we want to find the change in y and the change in x. Our change in y, we're adding 6 to get from -2 to 4, and from -1 to 2, we're adding 3. So our change in y over our change in x is going to be 6 over 3, which is the same thing as 2. If we divide both the top and the bottom by 3, we will get 2. So now that we know that m equals 2. And we can use either point. I'm going to use this point right here just because it doesn't have negatives in it. It's a little less messy. And I want us to remember the formula, which is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So if we pick this point, this is going to be our x1 and this is going to be our y1. So let's go through and substitute it in. We have y minus 4 equals 2 times x minus 2. Now our next step is to bomb it through. So bomb the 2 through, and we get y minus 4 equals 2x minus 4. And then what we do is we add 4 to get y by itself. So our final equation, I'm going to write it up here so we have more room, is y equals 2x. And notice that these cancel out here. So it's y equals 2x. Our next example has these 2 points, and again we're going to make that xy table. 4, 3, and -2, 0. So our change in y is going to be -3, and our change in x is going to be -6. So our change in y over our change in x, that's going to be equal to our m. And our change in y is -3, and our change in x is -6. So we can simplify that to 1 over 2. So we know that m equals 1 over 2. And then I want to use this point here, 4, 3. You can use either of them as x1 and y1. So then we substitute through. Remember, we have y minus y1 equals m x minus x1. So we have y minus 3 equals 1/2 x minus 4. So then what we do is we bomb through, boom, boom. Y minus 3 equals 1/2 minus half of 4 is 2. I'm going to write this over here so we have a little bit more room. Y minus 3 equals 1/2 x, I forgot the x over here, 1/2 x minus 2. Then what we do is we add 3 to both sides. And we have y equals 1/2 x plus 1. So that's our equation, our new equation from the 2 points. We just have 3 more here to try. X and Y table over here. We have 2, -5, and 6, -4. Change in Y and change in X. How we get from -5 to -4 is we're adding 1. And how we get from 2 to 6 is we're adding 4. And remember that our slope, or m, equals the change in y over the change in x. Change in y is 1 and the change in x is 4. So our slope is 1/4. And so we have m equals 1/4. I'm going to choose this point just because I want to. 2 minus 5. And I can use this point the other point if I really want to. But I don't, so I won't. And we have y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Plugging that in, we get y minus -5 equals m, which is 1/4. Times x minus 2. Then the next thing we do is bomb all the way through. Boom, boom. Y plus 5 equals 1/4 x. And then we bomb the 1/4 through, and we have minus 1/4 times 2 over 1. We can simplify this. 2 goes into 4 2 times, and 2 goes into 2 once. So what we really have is 1/2. So then we I'll write it over here. Y plus 5 equals 1/4 x minus 1/2. So we subtract 5 to both sides. And we get our final answer of y equals 1/4 x minus 5.5. We're almost there, folks. We got 2 left. So we want to make our chart. X and Y. 3, -3. 6, -3. Change in Y over our change in X. 0. And that is 3. Change in y over our change in x is 0 over 3. So we have that 0 over 3, that's just going to be that our slope m equals 0. So if we plug that into y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1, I'm going to use this point here. Y minus a -3 equals 0 times x minus 3. So when we bomb this through, 0 times anything is 0. So we have y plus 3 equals 0. So you subtract 3, y equals -3 is our equation. And the reason why this makes sense, we have a slope of... So the reason why this makes sense is we have a slope of 0. So what that means, in slope dude form, that we had our line like this, and it's going to be at 1, 2, 3, -3. So this is what our line is going to look like. And our last problem here, making another chart, we have x and y. X is 8, -1, and 8, -4. So from -1 to -4, we're adding -3. And then from 8 to 8 is 0. So our change in y over our change in x is going to be -3 over 0. And we can't divide by 0, so our slope is going to be undefined. So what that means, when our slope was 0, it looked like this. But when our slope is undefined, it's going to be up and down, like this, somewhere. And we know that our 8, x is always going to be equal to 8. So that's going to be our equation is x is equal to 8. So again, I want to explain why x equals 8. So we know that in this problem, our x value is always going to be 8, no matter what our y value is. So when we have a line that's undefined, we know that it's always going to be x equals some value. In this case, our value is 8. Whenever our slope is 0, we're going to have y is equal to some value. In this case, it was -3. And I have one more note for you. If m equals 0, the equation, this is what I just said, the equation is y equals some value. And if m is undefined, the equation is x equals some value. So now go ahead and try these you try problems and don't forget your summary.